Most stories I cover here are contained almost entirely within the past. A few have updates from this century, sure, but this one is almost unique in happening right now. Not this year, not last week, but at this very moment, you, the viewer, are listening to these words. There is a letter locked away in a safe, inside another safe, accompanied by 150 men, hiding in the deepest part of an unknown ocean, waiting for the day that the world as we know it will end. It is on board the Trident nuclear program, which is the United Kingdom's attempt to stop nuclear Armageddon, so you know it's going to be a really happy episode from that intro. So, to first explain this letter, I need to explain what Trident actually is, and to explain that, I also kind of need to explain how to play the game of how not to die when it comes to nuclear weapons. And that game is MAD. Well, not mad as in mad, although it probably is, but mad as in MAD, or mutually assured destruction. It is the idea that if anyone fires a nuclear weapon at you, you will retaliate with force, and both sides in this conflict will be utterly destroyed in the process, making the entire thing a huge loss for both sides, and therefore deterring anyone from ever striking first, therefore at all. This is basically the reason we all got through the Cold War alive, and to win this game of how not to die in a nuclear conflict, you as a nation need to show to anyone thinking of planning such things that they will die too. This is known as a deterrent, as it deters enemy forces from killing you all, and is the point of the Trident nuclear program. But how does it do this? Well, let me explain. Trident consists of 4 Vanguard-class submarines, each with torpedoes but, more importantly, 16 missiles and 40 warheads to launch with them. The whole operation is centred and based at the Clyde Naval Base on the Firth of Clyde, just down the coast from Glasgow, but at any one time there are only 3 there at the base. This is because the submarines rotate 3-month patrols, so that one leaves before the others stop patrolling, meaning there is never a submarine not out there ready to fire, and therefore never a gap in defences. There hasn't been a single day since 1969 in which there's been no defence, which in itself is known as Continuous At-Sea Deterrence, or CASD, which is an acronym that's so important I'll never use it again. The subs are entirely self-reliant when on patrol, and compared to the 361 million square kilometres they have to hide in, they are basically impossible to ever find on your own, even if you were looking. This is why, if someone decides to wipe Hull from the map via cleansing atomic radiation, although possibly a good idea, they won't be able to take out the UK's defences first, because it could be anywhere. It could be under the polar ice caps, or hiding in the shadow of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge or the Mariana Trench, or off the coast of Vanuatu or Cyprus or the Maldives. You just don't know. Not even the majority of the 150-strong crew on patrol of the submarine know where they are. Now, this deterrent goal is all very well and good. It seems to have worked so far, judging by the fact that I'm still here. But today we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the hypothetical, but still very scary scenario. An atomic attack is launched at the UK by someone, I guess, and it's the worst case scenario. It is successful in wiping out everyone in power within the cabinet. Theresa May, the PM, is obliterated, and so is 10 Downing Street, though it should be noted that only 2 people, the PM and 1 approved alternate decision maker, matter in this scenario. In America, they have nuclear launch codes that are authorized by the President and then approved by the Secretary of Defense, or other various people in power in the event that they die. To summarize a long and complicated system, it is reliant on a government response at the time of the strike. In the UK, however, the defence is more independent of the government, and so can operate when the entire government has been obliterated. Well, this is all very well and good, but in reality, what would the submarines do? They still have to take orders from someone, right? Are they going to nuke someone? Well, first they need to find out for definite, and 100% certainty that what they think may have just happened actually did happen, because the US almost retaliated once against a strike that wasn't a strike, just a malfunctioning computer. But that's a story for another time. It was incredibly close to actual warfare though, so to cut a long story short, we need to know for certain. Well, there are a series of checks in place, utilising an aerial that trails behind the moving submarine to detect various signals and transmissions broadcast by the government, or lack thereof as the case may be. Also, one of the things they check for, apparently, is whether BBC Radio 4 is broadcasting or not, which is strange if it's true, but might just be a rumour, as most likely that information is actually classified. So say that all the checks come back positive, which in itself really isn't positive at all because that means the deaths of millions, but say a nuclear strike is confirmed. So what do? Whose orders do they follow if everyone in power is dead? Well, they follow the Prime Minister's orders, even though at this point she is also deceased. How? Usually on the first day, or the first couple days after a new Prime Minister takes office, he or she will be visited by the Chief of Defence Staff, whom is presently this chap, and they will be given an educational talk, presumably about Trident, about MAD, but specifically what a missile retaliation from Trident would mean, that being innocent civilian deaths. The PM then proceeds to write 4 identical letters, each for each Vanguard-class submarine in Trident, detailing his or her orders to the captain and crew of the submarine what to do in the eventuality of a strike and their own deaths. How's that for a first day on the job? The letters are then sealed, their orders unknown to anyone except the PM that wrote them, and each one is placed inside a locked safe in the control room of each submarine, those subs being the HMS Vanguard, hence the class name, Victorious, which is an ironic name when you consider the purpose of the submarine, Vigilant, which is actually appropriate for once, and Vengeance, which is even more appropriate. All in all, someone in the government has probably seen the beginning of V for Vendetta. If the PM serves their term and no nuclear warfare is wrought, which is so far all of them, then the letters are taken out and burned without ever being opened, as to keep the orders a secret still. The new PM comes in and writes their orders, and then these replace the old PM's letters, presumably with a few days delay due to the logistics of putting the letters on a submarine and then rotating that submarine on patrol. Also, you've probably realised by now, these letters are called the letters, or individually, the letter of last resort, because they are the last resort. When the UK government no longer exists, this is their last instruction. And also it's a letter as well, that too. If, when the time comes, the captain confirms that there has been a nuclear strike, incapacitating the government, and the letter is read and the action is taken, it would be the last official order of Her Majesty's government. So, obviously we don't know what each Prime Minister put on the letters, but what could they put on there? Well, there are more than 2 options. Firstly, they could instruct the captain and vice captain, who carry out the orders on the Trident submarines, to investigate the attacking nation and then strategically retaliate against them, using their arsenal of up to 8 SLBMs, or submarine-launched ballistic missiles, and then they and the crew are presumably dismissed. Secondly, they could be ordered not to fire their missiles at the perpetrators and instead return to some allied base or surrender to the enemy. Thirdly, the PM could ask the captain to use his own or the vice-captain's judgment, as the Prime Minister may think them more adequately equipped or knowledgeable of the situation. I've got no idea. Fourthly, they could be asked to submit themselves and their submarine to the orders of a surviving allied country, like New Zealand or Australia or Iceland or Canada, if there's anything left of them. And there could very well be more, or one could say maybe even a combination of those if one wished, and we don't know what those current orders locked away in a safe on a secret submarine in the deep ocean somewhere actually say. Sure, people can point to the Prime Minister answering questions like,
but can we cut to the chase? Is she personally prepared to authorise a nuclear strike that could kill 100,000 innocent men, women and children?
Yeah.
In the House of Commons, with her answer being,
yes. And I have to say to the honourable gentleman, the whole point of a deterrent is that our enemies need to know that we would be prepared to use it.
She's right, you know. If the people, who would nuke a country like the UK, knew that the PM would not retaliate, they would disregard the deterrent entirely. They wouldn't be deterred, and it would be completely useless against them. Because of this, the PM must say publicly, if they have anything to say at all, that they have ordered the retaliation strike if one were to occur, as this keeps up the deterring part of the deterrent even if they actually ordered the crew to stand down or surrender to the enemy. Otherwise, they risk invalidating the entire Trident system, and thereby we don't know actually what's on those letters, despite hearing from the woman herself. This isn't just nuclear warfare, it's psychological. In 2028, they will begin to phase out and replace the Vanguard-class submarines with bigger Dreadnought-class ones, currently under construction. It will then potentially extend Trident and thereby MAD coverage until the 2070s. It is unknown whether these letters will keep being written every 5 or 10 years, or they will adopt a more American launch code type system. Either way, now this letter at the bottom of the sea, as we speak, will dictate whether millions live or millions die if the worst were to happen. And for the next few years at least, it looks like it's going to stay that way.